I'm Jenna Enoch. Here's your Spectrum News in 90.
You see videos about tornadoes. You see people retelling them, just like how, I'm retelling them now, but it's really one of those things you never expect and, until it actually happens.
At least 18 people are dead and more than 100 are hurt after severe weather over the weekend. Forecasters say the same system is putting more than 120 million people at risk of severe weather today, putting a damper on Memorial Day plans and causing traffic delays for many people returning home. At least 35 people were killed and dozens more were hurt in Israeli strikes on Rafah. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry says the victims are mostly women and children. The group Palestine Red Crescent Society says the area was a camp for displaced people. The Israeli military says it's investigating the incident. Closing arguments are scheduled for tomorrow in the New York hush money trial of former President Donald Trump. This follows weeks of testimony from Stormy Daniels, former fixer Michael Cohen, and White House insiders. After closing arguments, the decision goes to a jury of 12 people to decide whether Trump illegally falsified records at his company to keep embarrassing stories from becoming public during his 2016 presidential campaign. Those are your headlines. Now here's your weather on the ones.
A happy Monday to you. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhrer. I hope you're having a nice Memorial Day holiday. So here's what we are looking at across the country again. More severe weather, this time a little bit closer toward the East Coast, or at least the eastern half of the country. Mild out west, so very comfortable out west. And then the big heat continues in through Texas and into Florida with high humidity levels, dangerously hot heat out there. You can see the average. We're looking at about 5 to 10 degrees above average in through the south for your Monday.
Thank you for joining us on Spectrum News. I'm Jenna Enoch. Today is Memorial Day, Monday, May 27th. Our top story, dozens of people, including children, were killed after powerful and deadly storms tore through multiple states over the weekend. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says among the dead are a 2-year-old and 3 other children.
Texans across the state are saddened by the tragic loss of life.
Today, more than 20 million people are at risk of severe weather, putting a damper on Memorial Day plans and causing traffic delays for many returning home. Spectrum's Justine Ray has more on the recovery efforts.
It's like a punch to the stomach, really. I mean, this is my community.
Deadly storms striking the central U.S. Memorial Day weekend.
Coming back to this location right now for the first time, knowing that I was just here and it's all destroyed is mind-blowing. I know people that work here.
Severe weather resulted in multiple fatalities, including children, after tornado-spawning storms struck Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas overnight. The powerful storms obliterated homes and even flipped 18-wheelers over, also bringing down power lines, leaving hundreds of thousands of Americans without electricity. Among the dead, authorities say 3 people in a single household in Texas. Also in Texas, multiple injuries were reported after 60 to 80 people were trapped inside a Shell gas station. More fatalities in Oklahoma, where severe storms after a possible EF2 tornado left a trail of destruction and injuries in their wake. On top of power outages, the city of Claremore was left with no operating gas systems. Violent weather also proving deadly in Arkansas, where more than 100,000 power outages were reported amid the devastation. I'm Justine Ray reporting.
At least 35 people were killed in Rafah. The Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry says the victims are mostly women and children. The group Palestine Red Crescent Society says the area was a camp for displaced people. The Israeli military says it's investigating the incident. Hostage and ceasefire negotiations will resume tomorrow. An Egyptian official says the talks will take place in Cairo. Hamas and Israel have been negotiating for months, with Qatar, Egypt, and the U.S. acting as mediators. On Friday, the United Nations court ordered Israel to halt its offensive in Rafah, which it started on May 6th. Ukraine's second largest city taking more Russian fire over the weekend, leaving at least 16 people dead. Military leaders say 2 guided bombs hit a large hardware store with shoppers inside in Kharkiv. More than 40 other people were hurt and dozens more are still missing. Closing arguments are scheduled for tomorrow in the New York hush money trial of former President Donald Trump. This follows weeks of testimony from 22 witnesses, including adult film star Stormy Daniels, a tabloid publisher, and White House insiders. After closing arguments, the decision goes to a jury of 12 people to decide whether prosecutors have proved beyond a reasonable doubt that the former president illegally falsified records at his company as part of an effort to keep embarrassing stories from becoming public during his 2016 presidential campaign. 12 people were injured yesterday as a Qatar Airways flight from Doha to Dublin hit turbulence, with emergency services waiting to meet the flight as it landed.
I'm feeling okay. I've settled down now, but it was quite scary. The plane just seemed to go stop, which it didn't, but then dropped, quite a severe drop. And then, fortunately, the captain got it under control quite quickly.
Airport officials in Dublin said 6 of the injured were passengers, while the other 6 were members of the crew. The incident comes only days after more than 100 passengers were injured on a Singapore Airlines flight that hit severe turbulence, while a man on board had a heart attack condition died. Americans are visiting cemeteries all across the country, honoring and paying tribute to veterans. But the service has long been overlooked, especially in historically black cemeteries. Volunteers are working to piece their stories together and recognize their efforts. Karen Kefa has the story.
On a blustery spring Saturday in York, Pennsylvania, the Civil War service of John Noble is finally memorialized.
Present arms.
Noble was born in Havana, Cuba around 1862 to 1863, and in 1902 he was buried in North York's Lebanon Cemetery. Until the 1960s, one of the only burial sites in the area for African Americans.
I didn't realize that this was a black cemetery. It was just a place where my relatives were buried. And so it's only been since 2019 when I started volunteering here that I knew and understood the gravity of what this site meant.
Samantha Dorm is co-founder of a volunteer group called Friends of Lebanon Cemetery. When the group first came together in 2019, the primary mission was upkeep. Now the focus has expanded to research, storytelling, education, and remembrance.
The truth of the matter is, many of those stories are not there to be found. If you don't have families who can tell you about their ancestors, that can tell you about their history, their lineage, those stories are oftentimes lost.
The more than 150-year-old cemetery leased 300 U.S. military veterans. This spring, Noble and 4 other black veterans received the grave markers to which every eligible U.S. military veteran is entitled, whether buried in a cemetery maintained by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs like this one in Alexandria, Virginia, or a private cemetery like Lebanon.
Every veteran has a story to be told, and so without that marker, that story is lost, and the legacy of that veteran is lost.
Matthew Quinn is the VA's outgoing Undersecretary for Memorial Affairs. He says efforts like that by the Friends of Lebanon Cemetery and at other private sites is an extension of the recognition at the nation's VA-operated cemeteries.
This is reaching out beyond those boundaries to private cemeteries that maybe the graves haven't been maintained and the markers have been damaged or destroyed.
The VA's National Cemetery Administration says they are working with private historically black cemeteries in South Carolina, Virginia, and Pennsylvania, and others, and local veterans groups, historians, and volunteers like Samantha Dorm to verify service records and issue markers, making sure every veteran's service is honored. In Alexandria, Virginia, I'm Karen Kefa.
Coming up on Spectrum News, a new battery plant in a dying steel town, and how the president hopes projects like it will help his re-election bid.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
A very good Monday to you. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand Fuhrer. So the severe threat now shifts a little bit closer to the East Coast. The Storm Prediction Center, the National Weather Service, NOAA, was predicting from Alabama all the way up into Pennsylvania. That's where we've got the biggest risk, 2 out of 5, if you're looking at the scale, with some, marginal risk down in toward Texas for some severe weather. That's for your Monday, and then for your Tuesday tomorrow, we're looking at just a marginal risk in through eastern Texas and up toward Montana, just more or less general thunderstorms. But again, things could change as we get a little closer, so you can still get some severe storms there. So here's the futurecast. This is through the morning hours. There's the storm. Watch how it develops and moves across toward the east. So you can see it in through eastern New York, all the way down south of New Jersey, into Virginia, also into the Carolinas for today. And then as we go through the evening hours into the overnight hours, the line shifts into Maine. Also a few storms out through New Jersey again and through New York. And then it kind of quiets that down a little bit south of the Great Lakes. But then we'll see some more or less general thunderstorms as we head through the day on Tuesday. And now we're going to shift down into Texas and into Oklahoma. Look at this line from Kansas into the panhandle of Texas and then into southern Texas. Again, there's still a marginal risk, but still storms. And again, you could still get some isolated tornadoes and some gusty, damaging winds and hail as this system pushes off into Wednesday. All right, as far as the rainfall goes, excessive rainfall in through Texas, also in through the Ohio River Valley, where we could see over 2.5 inches, potentially up to 4 inches of rain. So flooding a definite possibility there. So Charlotte, North Carolina, showers and storms in the forecast for you today. A little bit warmer Tuesday, but you're dry. Same deal going into Wednesday. For Portland, Maine, showers and thunderstorms over the next couple of days. Look at Monday, upper 50s, and a big warm up as you head into Tuesday. I hope you have a very nice Memorial Day.
If you're just joining us, here's a look at what you need to know. At least 18 people are dead and more than 100 are hurt after severe weather over the weekend. Forecasters say the same system is putting more than 120 million people at risk of severe weather today. Parts of Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi are also under heat alerts. At least 35 people were killed and dozens more were hurt in Israeli strikes on Rafah. The Palestine Red Crescent Society says the area was a camp for displaced people. The Israeli military says it's investigating the incident. And closing arguments are scheduled for tomorrow in the New York hush money trial of former President Donald Trump. This follows weeks of testimony from 22 witnesses. After closing arguments, the decision goes to a jury of 12 people. And that's what you need to know. A new battery plant in West Virginia offers a case study of whether President Joe Biden's agenda is winning new supporters. The plant is being built with incentives from the Inflation Reduction Act and will provide 750 new jobs. But is it having an impact on voters? Spectrum's Taylor Popolars went to Weirton to find out.
This was once the heart of steel country.
Weirton Steel was the largest taxpayer in West Virginia for decades.
The steelmaker employed about 14,000 people here in the 1960s. But last month, production ended as the remaining tin mill went idle.
Workers busted their butts. Okay, they didn't do anything wrong. The government turned their back on us.
Like so many industrial communities across the Midwest, Weirton is trying to figure out how to reinvent itself. And after years spent watching this sprawling steel site shrink, residents are now tracking something new being built on the grounds, a battery plant.
I think the people here in this valley are extremely excited for it.
Hancock County Administrator Paul Zuros has deep roots in Weirton.
My family has been here for, more than 100 years now.
His father, grandparents, and great-grandparents worked for Weirton Steel. He helps maintain this museum on Main Street to tell the city's story.
Where the Form Factory is being built is right here. This is all Form Factory now.
Form Energy is building the plant, which will make cutting-edge batteries that can store power generated by clean energy sources like solar or wind.
This would not happen without the Inflation Reduction Act. It would not have happened without it.
It's one of hundreds of renewable energy and electric vehicle projects benefiting from President Joe Biden's signature climate law, which is aimed at creating new manufacturing jobs and speeding the transition to green energy. He spoke about the Form Energy plant in Chicago last year.
It's being built on the same exact site, bringing back 750 good-paying jobs, bringing back a sense of pride and hope for the future for all the people of Weirton.
Form Energy told Spectrum News the company had been interested in Weirton before the climate bill became law. But once it passed, the legislation helped to speed up the site selection process and funding. $290 million in state incentives sweetened the deal. Like in that visit to Chicago, Biden has been touring the country, highlighting how his policies are creating jobs. Earlier this month in Wisconsin, he showcased an AI data center Microsoft is building on land once set aside for a Trump administration project that never panned out.
On my watch, we make promises and we keep promises.
An analysis by Politico in 2023 found that 2/3 of the projects aided by Biden's climate law are located in Republican districts. Weirton, where Trump flags fly outside many homes, is solidly Republican. Residents we spoke with said they did not know about the connection between Biden's policies and the new plant, or they did not care.
Just because a plant comes into town, whether he had his little imprint on it, I wasn't aware of that. This is Trump country. It's very loyal and dedicated and committed.
Any of his promises that were made were not kept. And I think that, you know, a lot of people around here who were Democrats are probably Republicans now or close to it because Trump has promised and tried to put a foot forward on the promises.
At DJ's, a well-known rib restaurant, owner Mike Sherbach said his customers do talk about the new plant, but not in a political sense.
I don't think that it's going to be established enough to affect this round of elections.
One political analyst says voters in Weirton and across the state are more focused on the immediate, like the cost of living.
While Biden is probably as pro-labor as any president in my lifetime, you know, when that coincides with higher prices at pumps and for milk, bread, and that sort of stuff, you know, that sort of that detracts from that overall message.
Whether voters in places like Weirton begin to credit Biden for projects like this one remains to be seen. The election is still 5 months away. The new battery plant is expected to open later this year. In Weirton, West Virginia, Taylor Popolars, Spectrum News.
Ahead on Spectrum News, on this Memorial Day, we visit a museum bringing the history of World War II back to life.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling. and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I don't remember how it started.
What's that?
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
A very happy Memorial Day to you. I'm meteorologist Ferdinand DeFuhr with a quick check of the travel forecast. So pretty quiet out west. So Seattle, we've got the clouds, 68 degrees. Portland, very comfortable. Also clouds. It's that marine layer that you get on the west coast there, mid 70s. Los Angeles in the low 70s as well. And then you get out towards Salt Lake, plenty of sunshine. Temperatures low 80s. Denver, very similar. Lots of sunshine. Temperatures pushing 80 degrees. And yes, out in Dallas, it's hot and it's humid, dangerously hot. Potential records actually through Texas with some of that heat. For Milwaukee, as we shift a little bit to the east, this is where we're seeing more stormy weather, could be some severe weather. So Milwaukee, thunderstorms in the low 70s. Louisville, some low 80s for you. Showers and storms. Hot in Austin, some afternoon thunderstorms for you. Cleveland, thunderstorms for you. Middle 70s. New York, rain, thunderstorms, temperatures in the 70s. And Tampa, another hot spot there with high humidities, temperatures in the 90s. So here's kind of the setup. So ridge of high pressure, Mexican ridge of high pressure is kind of pushing up a little bit. It's bringing up that hot air. A little bit cooler up toward the Great Lakes with an area of low pressure. A little heat out toward the East Coast with a ridge of high pressure. And then quiet out west with another ridge of high pressure. Everything kind of shifts a little bit east. Ridge kind of backs down a little bit. So you get a little bit of cooling in through Texas through the middle part of the week. So with respect to average, temperatures a good 5 to 10 degrees above average through Texas. And again, you could possibly even see some record heat out there as well. And then Miami, hotter than normal as well, hot and humid, and nice and quiet out west. San Francisco and Los Angeles, temperatures running a little bit below average. That's the coastal part of California. So high temperatures for today. Dallas, you're at 96. Houston, 97. New Orleans, 92. Phoenix, desert Southwest, pushing 100 degrees. Up towards Seattle and Portland, upper 60s, some low 70s. Nice and comfortable through the Great Lakes from Minneapolis to Columbus. Temperatures middle 60s to middle 70s. Nice out toward, well, at least nice temperatures, I should say. You got some showers and storms out toward the East Coast as well, but temperatures generally in the 70s. So your Memorial Day holiday, Arlington, Virginia, forecast high about 87. Showers and storms in the forecast. You'll start off in the low 80s, and then by the evening hours, you'll get into the 70s. And then for the city of Austin, again, hot and humid, dangerously hot heat, showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon hours. It'll be a hot and muggy day for you. And downtown LA, we're looking at temperatures in the low 70s, very comfortable out in Los Angeles.
The American Heritage Museum in Hudson, Massachusetts is bringing the history of World War II to life this Memorial Day. Spectrum's Devin Bates took a ride inside the museum's M36 tank destroyer and explains why keeping these machines running is important.
It's really amazing to get inside of one of these vehicles when you fire it up the first time and you hear the rumble of the 1,100 cubic inch engine.
During World War II, the M36 Jackson was designed to take out enemy tanks, and American Heritage Museum President Rob Collings says it did so with impressive precision for its era.
And what made it different is this gun out here. That's a 90mm cannon, and that's extremely high velocity, extremely powerful. Scored the longest shot of World War II, 2.8 miles. 2.8 miles away, and it destroyed a Panther. I don't even know how they saw 2.8 miles, but they managed to get that shot off.
Sitting in the driver's station surrounded by 30 tons of metal, Collings says it's easy to feel invincible, like there's nothing you can't take on. But in reality, they were designed to prioritize speed and power over protection. The tank's armor wasn't very thick, so a German Panther tank could take it out from up to 3,000 yards away.
This, fortunately, had the ability to fight back with its gun, but most of the other tanks did not. So when you get right down to it, the crews were very, very vulnerable in these tanks. And they were a bunch of young kids at the time, 18, 19, 20-year-old crews that were just, you know, dumped off on the beaches of Normandy, and they're driving through Europe to liberate the continent. It's amazing what they did and what they accomplished at that time.
Approaching the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the amount of veterans still here to share their experience is dwindling, and the American Heritage Museum is honored to have 100-year-old World War II veteran Alfred Consigli scheduled to visit as part of their busy Memorial Day weekend. Riding in their tanks and hearing their roaring engines gives you perspective, but there's no substitute for shaking their hand and hearing their stories.
You can get the history lesson from someone who fought in the Battle of the Bulge. In 5 years, you're never going to be able to talk to one of these guys again. This is an amazing opportunity, and just imagine if you could go and talk to someone who was at the Old North Bridge in Concord or Gettysburg and hear what it was like. You'd give anything for that. But now we still have that very rare opportunity, and most of all, to thank them.
Devin Bates, Spectrum News.
I'm Jenna Enig. Thank you for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you, and we'll figure it out."